Bitcoin hovering in the range is the calm before the storm. Hey guys, it's Keith Allen. And yes, Hurricane Milton is bearing down on us. I couldn't help but make the comparison. Actually, it's not really that much of a stretch here. If you look outside what's going on around my house here in South Florida, and you look at the Bitcoin chart, you can see that things are coiling up, literally. So I'm actually going to have to make this one pretty brief. I've got a little bit more work to do to button things up around here. Fortunately, I can say that we're in probably one of the safest areas we could be in Miami versus where the storm is coming. And gosh, my heart goes out to friends and family up and down the state of Florida. Some are already feeling, some still reeling from Hurricane Helene a couple weeks ago, and now getting the 1-2 punch here. So for anybody in harm's way, my thoughts and prayers are with you. Get out. I've been through enough of these storms that I know when they tell you to get out, get the fuck out. All right. And so let's do a couple of things here. For those who have no perspective of what's going on here, I'll give you a quick view. This is Hurricane Milton, and this is the state of Florida. We're here. I'm living in Miami down here, but you can see the west coast of Florida is already starting to feel the effects of this storm, and it's going to be coming in really over the next 12 hours across the state, probably 24 hours to make it across the state. So, and then folks here on the East Coast are going to get pummeled from the, from the backside of it. So, again, we're in the safest place we could be down here in South Florida, but we still have a lot of rain coming, some heavy winds, and some tornadoes are already spinning out of this thing in the area. So that's why we take every precaution to button things up and be safe. And I hope that everybody else is doing the same. So now let's get to the business. I just showed you the whole thing and it wasn't even shared. Man, it's, you can see where my head is. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I'll show you just real quickly here. What's going on here, and then I'll get into the Bitcoin analysis. So here you can see this is what I was just referring to. We've got Hurricane Milton coming into the west coast of Florida here in the Gulf of Mexico. We're in a pretty safe spot here, all things considered, here in South Florida and Miami. But nonetheless, this thing is definitely going to impact some lives with just massive storm surge up and down this coast, and the rain the rain will cause flooding even away from the coast. So it's a big deal. Now to what everybody else is thinking about, and that's Bitcoin still in this range, still somehow hovering at this 62K level. And as you can see here on FireCharts, this is the weekly chart. But if I zoom out here for the year, you can see that whales have been buying this range. I mean, they've been buying all year, pretty much. You can see that there's times where they're selling. They're basically buying dips and selling rips, right? And so this I've been saying for a long time that I felt like this was going to continue since we made that all-time high. I felt like this was, and that all-time high came before the halving. I felt like this was going to continue for an extended period of time, and it's certainly doing that. Yesterday, I stated that I thought that, I've actually said this a few times too, that I'm not confident that we're going to see a breakout before the election. And quite frankly, I don't see any reason why I should. Hey, Alexander, great to have you with me. Yeah, I realized I wasn't sharing the screen. Thanks for that heads up. I could have used you a couple minutes before that, but nonetheless, I appreciate the follow. So yeah, we're in this range, and you can see where the liquidity sits. The largest concentration to the downside is at that 50K level. We obviously have some pretty strong resistance overhead. We discussed that in depth yesterday, where we have these moving averages. And really, whatever time frame you like to trade, you can see where that 21 moving average comes into play. This here on the weekly chart, I think this is really the defined range at the moment, is between this the 50-week moving average. And I say that because you can see we've tested the 50-week once, twice, 3 times. And so this is what I would like to see hold so that we could get into a series of printing higher lows, right? Which this is really our first higher low after this flush down here to that sub 50K level. So Obviously, we have this double bottom down here that could come into play, but I would like to see this hold so that we can have a more positive outlook, at least in the near term, for Bitcoin price action. In the short term, you can see down signals on trend precognition, both on the A2 plus algo and the A1 algo down here, and which tells me that it's not likely that we're going to break last week's high here this week. On the daily chart, we also have that 21 moving average coming into play, as well as the 200-day moving average and this 2021 mid-cycle top. So this really is just heavily protected with ask liquidity. And yes, we will wick through it from time to time, but until we start seeing sustainable moves where these candles are printing above these levels and then ultimately above this level, so that we can then go after these prior highs and start making higher highs here, then we have something to talk about in terms of going after an all-time high. But I really think that we are a ways away from that. Election is less than 30 days away. That could obviously be a catalyst, as well as these economic numbers that come out every week are also, I think, short-term catalysts for some volatility intra-week, intra-month, whatever you want to call it. And tomorrow will be a big day. We'll see core inflation numbers and we'll see continuing job claims. And these are two of the big ones that that the market watches, and the Fed, of course. FOMC minutes coming out later this afternoon. You know, those tend to be not huge for me, because it's not like we're learning a whole lot new that the Fed hasn't already told us here in their previous statements from the previous meeting. So yeah, there may be some intraday volatility out of this, but nothing I think that will be sustainable in either direction, for whatever that's worth. So until we start seeing those sustainable moves, which to me comes with printing full candles above these resistance levels, I think we just stay in the range. And it's been profitable for a lot of traders who are, some folks just like to, hodl through this, and that's fine. I think that, the old adage of time spent in the market is better than trying to time the market. And that is really the case for most traders, at least the ones who are not experienced. For those who are interested in trading this more actively, I could tell you that our MTF mean reversion indicator has been performing quite well, as it has historically. And this is a way that you can, instead of trying to catch every dip, and instead of trying to be fast with your fingers, you could set this up if you have an automated trading bot with, a third party provider like 3 Commas, or you've created your own trading bots. You can send signals from trading signals with this indicator. And as you can see, for those who aren't familiar with mean reversion, this is just a tried and true methodology for buying dips, which are deviations from mean. And it's worth noting that price likes to return to mean from both directions, right? If you wick up high, it still wants to snap back to mean, which is why we take profit up in these areas. So this is proven to be effective year after year throughout different market conditions. Yes, there will be some drawdown, and you need to manage that. But this really has been a productive and profitable way for me to trade over the years, since we first, since even before we created material indicators, so as a company. So if you're interested in learning more about this one, as well as our other suite of tools, you can check them out at materialindicators.com. I've got a link down in the description to get you there. And I think I posted something earlier today on this as well. And you can use this for any asset on TradingView. So if you're interested in it, I encourage you to check it out for sure. Going to take another look here at some of the other fundamentals and reasons why I think that Bitcoin is coiling up for the bigger move. And that is simply the fundamentals continue to be strong for Bitcoin. Yes, we're in a post-halving period. So we obviously expect to see some movement out of that, but it's taking longer than I think a lot of people expected, or at least a lot of people have patience for. And I would encourage you to practice that patience muscle here in these kinds of conditions, because these things are going to develop but they take time. Obviously, they take time, and the market is not working on the schedule that you want or the schedule that I want. The market's going to do what the market's going to do, regardless of who the president is, regardless of who wins the election. Yeah, I think that the election is going to provide some short-term volatility, but after things normalize, we get past the first of the year, we'll probably start to see some more movement. Gonna leave you. Let's see. We could look at real quickly. Those BTC ETF flows continue. BlackRock is just continues to double down day after day. Very few days of selling out of BlackRock, but the market as a whole sold off a little bit yesterday, but not a ton of activity yesterday, and certainly for ETH, it's flat. It's that dead heartbeat uh, analogy that somebody busted out recently. You can see day before yesterday was absolutely flat to zero, and then yesterday a little bit of sell pressure. Let's see what today brings for ETH. I think that we got to get through a few of these things, and the market needs to find its footing before we see some real interest in that ETH ETF. In the meantime, um, you know, BlackRock continues to be the one that seems to be um, going after these with the most vigor. Uh, Obviously, Bitcoin ETFs have much more interest and flow than the ETH ETFs do, but the fact that they have accumulated this much in such a short amount of time, to me, is notable. There are others who will argue, and I've had this discussion with traders I respect, who think that Bitcoin whales are just feeding, that the smart money might be feeding these ETFs. And we saw that yesterday in our blockchain banner live stream. We discussed that, how some of that flow could be going into these ETFs. But the question, and nobody knows yet if these ETFs are smart money or they're the dumb money. I guess time will tell. But for those of us that have conviction over Bitcoin, ultimately moving into not just new all-time highs, but into six-figure territory. Uh, I think you trade the fundamentals. You look for opportunities. If you're looking to add to your position, scale your way in, and don't ape in at any level. Scaling seems to be, in my opinion, the safest and most responsible way to go after this. And when you find these opportunities, or if God forbid, a black swan lands, those times when the market is fearful are times when it is usually advantageous to buy. So as you can see, we've had periods where we had good support coming into the lower end of the range, and that support is starting to dwindle a bit. It keeps replenishing time and time again, so hopefully that will continue. But I mean, it is conceivable that we flush down to 50K at some point in time before we find our way out of this. But again, as I said, I would much rather see this level hold around 54K so that we could print a higher low and continue to print higher lows and start making, this was our first higher high here. But we've got much more significant ones to go after here, the 2021 top. And then once we print above the 2021 top, then we can start talking about going after these levels at 72 and the current all-time high. Until then, I encourage you all to trade safe, and for those of you in harm's way in the path of this storm, do what you got to do to keep yourselves and your family safe. Be good, guys. Trade safe, my friends.